For those that lived through it, WWE's New Generation period was one of great change and, on certain occasions, great shame. Though the organisation lacked Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, and most of the other, let's just say, overinflated bodies and personas that once defined the product, a maturation process had begun thanks to the vastly superior in-ring work of stalwarts like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor Ramon, the 1-2-3 Kid, and Mabel. Alright, maybe not that last one. Arenas and men were smaller, but just like the audience itself, they were becoming perfectly formed. Some of the finest matches of the decade took place with the smallest audience watching, including Bret Hart vs. Stone Cold Steve Austin's WrestleMania 13 match that transformed the industry in front of a catastrophically small pay-per-view audience. It's not the size, it's how good you are. At least that's what I tell myself. Look, these were the complex contradictions that defined the new generation. The Rattlesnake was a ringmaster before his tease temperature dropped, and Triple H's start in life as a Greenwich snob was a far cry from the game that he became. Future icons were signed with inadvertently fatalistic intent. Stars were goobers, and one was very nearly a goon. I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and this is that time that Chris Jericho was almost the Goon. What the bloody hell even is a goon? The company were no strangers to narrow-mindedness in their characterizations during the company's nadir, but in 1996 we saw a sea change at large that left behind the exhausted gimmicks that Vince McMahon and his inner circle were devising at the time. Finally! The aforementioned ascent of Stone Cold Steve Austin was driven first by a profanity-laden promo of literally biblical proportions. The man that stared ice daggers down the lens as he talked about Jake Roberts' Psalms and John 3:16s was no Chili McFreeze. He was a real human being with real human traits, not a fake human being who was just working a gimmick, or, for that matter, a part-time job. What the fuck? If newly installed Vice President of Talent Relations Jim Ross had helped furnish Vince McMahon's roster with potential stars, then the chairman had to get out of his own head and book them better than the clowns, dentists, and bin men that had come before. Gimmicks sold t-shirts, but characters, particularly ones played by competent wrestlers, sold tickets. More mankind than Man Mountain Rock, WWE's push to drastically adjust their philosophies in an attempt to keep pace with a resurgent WCW was, staggered and a little bit ad hoc, to be honest. A seriously injured Brian Pillman was signed, even though all he could do was talk for his first few months on the job, and when he did open his mouth, controversy beyond WWE's child-friendly remit spewed out. It's a bit like the first time you hear Simon Miller swear. Now, publicly, McMahon had to be seen to be offended by such patter, but the realities of the industry were changing at record pace. Buoyed by the transcendent New World Order storyline, WCW raced ahead in the Monday Night Ratings war and subsequently altered the perception of where the big boys of wrestling played. And look at the adjective there. Play. Indeed, their slogan was that on the nose, but they were wise to project that image whilst business was booming. It resonated with viewers and wrestlers alike. For years, Vince McMahon worked diligently to establish his brand as a byword for wrestling, ironically, whilst not allowing that word to define his product. But thus, it was the primary place of employment for the brightest and best that rose through the ranks. By mid-96, Chris Jericho was all of these things, having impressed in Japan, Mexico, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and ECW. His next move, regardless of the destination, would be one of the most significant of his career. The Lionheart was one of the kings of the indie jungle, but he'd hoped, like many his age, of WWE superstardom. Chris's dad, Ted Irvine, was a hugely successful ice hockey star for several NHL teams, but Jericho's heart was lost to sports entertainment. With no intent to become a second-generation skater, what could have been, Jericho's stock rose relatively quickly in his chosen profession. Debuting in 1990, he was in huge demand 6 years later. Both WWE and WCW were interested, with Jericho noting that he was contacted by Jim Cornette at the time for enhancement work. During a podcast discussion on it, he said, "The first ever opportunity I got in the WWE was when Cornette called me and said, we're going to do this thing where we have 5 enhancement guys. Now, they're not jobbers because they have gimmicks, but we want you to be one of these guys. They're not going to win any matches, but at least they'll have gimmicks and they'll have TV time and an entrance." Jericho's response? "I've kind of been doing this for 6 years. I don't really need to do that. I'm just going to keep doing my thing." Not for the last time, Y2J was wise beyond his years. Now, Wild Bill Irwin was kind of winding his career down by 1996, but he was dependable as affordable enhancement talent, if nothing else. So, determined to wrap him in a gimmick, McMahon produced weeks of footage of him battering folk in his first profession. A Goon, by the way, to answer my earlier question, if you're as clueless as I am, is an ice hockey player who can be tactically deployed as a fighter or violent player, should the situation require such skill. If a hockey player was going to try his hand at professional wrestling, it would be a team's Goon. But yet again, the chairman never stopped to ask himself, go on Simon, why? Here's why. Thus, the Goon was born. And within months, he was dead. To his credit, Irwin played a blinder in the role, throwing his gloves to the mat as soon as the bell rang and charging at his foes with overhand lefts and rights. It was like the NHL had genuinely been brought to the WWE. Apparently, never watched it, so. His gear, too, was loyal to an almost ridiculous level. Head to toe in hockey attire, just in case you weren't sure if he was a hockey player or not. His boots were fashioned to have soles like ice hockey blades. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? We're doing the bloody chicken dance all the time. Could the son of an actual ice hockey pro have done the job any better? Yep, surprise, surprise, Jericho believes he could. As 1996 became 1997, the Goon was put back on ice as the company itself began the slow skate to the hottest period in the industry's history. I'm going to stop doing that now. Jericho himself, of course, was a beneficiary of the better days. Having moved to WCW in the end, he was growing tired of his time in Atlanta by 1999. Though his start in WWE was frustratingly slow at first, he'd made it through the door with his name, personality, and ridiculous haircut intact. His original incarnation could have left him absolutely popped. So there you have it. That time, Chris Jericho was almost the Goon. As you can see, I'm trying to do a little roll myself, growing out a moustache to become dashing Adam Wilborn. I'm sure you will comment on that in the comments section below. But let me know your other favourite job-based wrestlers, or I suppose you could call them jobbers. I mean, there's TL Hopper, Simon Miller's favourite Repo Man, IRS, Duke the Dumpster Drozy, Dean Douglas, and of course, Isaac Yankem, DDS. I wonder whatever happened to him. Oh yeah, fake Diesel. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you check out Adam Nicholas's video about that time D-Generation X was so hated, you know, with the whole, it's going to be a gif, that, isn't it? They almost caused a riot. And you can check out some more of our recent videos here. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from WhatCulture, and I'll see you soon.